Loads it up, throws down deep the middle of the field. Rod Smith's got it. Here we go. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Rod Smith, Denver, touchdown. Inside the 10, head first. He flies behind the 5-yard line. He wanted that first down.
And I tell you what, if you want to tell me the 37-year-old man that's going to win this game.
The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all. Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stick on got him 3 to the 30. To the 20. Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime.
In the pocket is Duke. Ball's knocked out of his hands. It bounces around. And I think Denver's got it. Von Miller again. Wilson fires. Caught. Touchdown. Sutton. His second of the day.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 4 of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. I'm your host, Keith Brugman. I got a little preview for our co-host that's coming in. Hope everyone liked the brand new intro that we had going on. Just a reminder, we're a proud podcast of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. And I guess no reason to keep them in the dark any longer. We'll go ahead and get the intro going. Here we go.
You talking to me?
Give him a heater.
You're the best. I'm the worst.
It's time to bring in the big guns.
Finally.
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is. Plain and simple.
What's going on, Keith?
Hey, not much, Joe Pro. Mr. Joseph Guzman. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. Excited to be on the show. Excited to come over and hang out with you. So no complaints, man.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, hey, we're just a day out. So how was your 4th, buddy?
It was great. Spent some time out with the family, and we just got to go out, enjoy the fireworks, and really just kick it. It wasn't anything too spectacular, crazy, and it was safe. I didn't have any issues, so that's always a good thing.
That's always good, man. Well, if any of you guys are friends with Joe on Facebook, he put out an awesome picture. He was down in San Diego at the time, and looked like a beautiful time, beautiful night to be out watching some fireworks, bud.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you can't ever beat the San Diego City skyline and in this time of year. So beautiful weather. Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone had a fantastic 4th of July. It was safe. It was fun. Looked like at least in the communities around Denver and around our communities, everything went fantastically. So, this time of year, I think we were talking just before we got on, the news cycle gets a little bit slow, not just for football, but for all sports. Unfortunately, we do have some Denver Bronco news, and I say unfortunately because of exactly what it is. Some details came out about Demerit Thomas and his passing, and it looks like he had level 2 CTE. Joe, what did you get from the reports? I know that you saw some of that too.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he had been struggling for quite a bit of time, and it's kind of unfortunate that he couldn't get get through to somebody that maybe could have gotten him into a little bit better of a spot. Obviously, he was struggling with seizures and things like that, but you had mentioned that he was struggling with like paranoia and different things like that, and I couldn't imagine being in a spot like that. Yeah. So it's really sad, really unfortunate.
Yeah, and you spoke to exactly what I was going to say. I don't know how he tried to recluse himself away. He quit returning messages. He was really trying to distance himself. He did have paranoia, and there was a lot of details that came out about that as well. That I feel is almost personal, but he was obviously struggling, and I know that it's tough for friends and family members and co-workers and former co-workers to try to reach out to these people. It's just it's sad that no one was able to get to him prior to his demise, and he was even looking at planning on doing a comeback and coming back into the NFL. That was all derailed by some of these things that eventually end up taking his life. So just sad news. Obviously we all love Demerit, and he'll Denver Bronco for life forever. So it just, it's always tough to hear, sad news about a great that you admired and respected. So
Oh, definitely. I 100% agree with that.
All right. Well, boy, I'm going to have to try to kick it off and get off of that because we have an absolute jam-packed show. We got a lot to get to. So I just want to hit a quick thing real quick. I usually kick it off this way every single show, but I just want to talk to you guys about Rocky Mountain Sports Network. If you haven't been over to the page, if you haven't been following Rocky Mountain Sports Network, it's fantastic. We aim to provide great content for any and all sports all along the Rocky Mountain front. So from Broncos to Rockies, Nuggets to Avalanche, even Colorado Mammoth, the X League, DU Sports. I mean, you can find just about coverage of all this and more, all on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network Facebook page, and you can find us on YouTube as well. But if you're looking for content, if you're looking to follow your team along the Rocky Mountain Sports or along the Rocky Mountain front, head on over to Rocky Mountain Sports Network. All right, man. Let's ride. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Like I said, jam-packed show. Try to get to a lot of different things. We have running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends all on the docket. I promise if we don't get to everything tonight, I like to try to keep the shows bite-sized for all our consumers out there, I guess you could say. So if we don't get it, we'll wrap it into the next week. But I think we'll be able to get through it all this week. Boy, man, wide receiver room is pretty stacked, man. Let me pull this up really quick. This is our current wide receiver room that we have. Some names that we know, obviously, and some new names on there, man. Brought in some guys not only through the draft, but signed some guys off of what is it called? Hit me, Joe.
Free agency.
Free agency, especially out of college, when they're not drafted. Undrafted free agents. Thank you. Thanks, Joe, man, making it easy on me. So I think for every single one of these topics, I want to answer this for our viewers. Really, first off, and this is the easiest one is who are we going to make sure is on the 53? Who are we going to go ahead and say this guy makes the 53? I think we can kind of come to an agreement on most of these. What do you think, Joe?
I think so. I think that the ones that make the 53 are pretty clear cut right off the bat.
All right. So why don't you go ahead? You start naming your clear cuts, and if I have any objections, I'll jump in on you. How's that?
Okay, sounds good. So definitely going to be saying, obviously, starting with Courtland Sutton, he's our one. So there's not going to be any issues with him making the team. Tim Patrick, obviously, we just signed him for a bunch of money. So having him down on the 2 side. Jerry Judy will obviously make the team. We still have a lot of investment in him, but I think it's going to definitely be a make it or break it year for Jerry Judy because of everything that we have seen with him over the last couple of years. Problems with drops and things like that. But again, since we're going to be changing the offense, hopefully that's not going to derail his progression. KJ Hamler, I don't see why he wouldn't be making the team this year. And then Kendall Hinton, obviously, I don't know as much as a wide receiver as a returner. Those are going to be the guys that I see us putting on the 53 with no issues or hesitation.
Oh, wow, man. That's a long list, man. I don't know if I would have went all the way down. Let's see if I get everything all back up here for us. So just so we have that list. So we got Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Judy, KJ Hamler,
and Hinton.
And Kendall Hinton. Very good. You're not just looking for a backup QB and Kendall Hinton?
Oh, I mean, that emergency quarterback is very necessary, I think, in the world of COVID and everything else. We just got to have some random person be able to throw the ball.
Yeah, right. Well, right now, and I know it's not on the docket right now, but we have 3 guys in the room. Hopefully we can keep our wide receivers out of the quarterback room all season long. It's interesting to me. I know. So just kind of going through some of our questions that we have on this is also if anyone gets traded, and this is where I guess traded or released. The one thing that I'm not sure of, especially with Montrell Washington coming in, does he supplant KJ Hamler on this roster? I mean, he was brought in specifically as a return guy. I know. It is, like I said, this is just a full room when you start talking about guys that we've also put time into, like Seth Williams and Tyree Cleveland, and then you bring in guys that are brand new, like Montrell Washington, Brandon Johnson, and Caden Davis. Not that the last two, I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to put them on the high list of obviously making the 53 at all, right? So
yeah. With Montrell Washington, I really liked what we saw from him, and the reason why we brought him in was because of his ability to return. But with KJ Hamler, I think KJ Hamler has him on speed. He's one of the fastest guys in the NFL right now, and that's now depending on how he comes back from this ACL injury. If he's at the same level he was before, I don't know if Montrell Washington will have that ability to come in the way they thought maybe bringing him in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, everything that everyone's been talking about KJ is he's looking fantastic in his return. Players and coaches alike have been kind of impressed. Let's get through a few comments real quick on this. We got Albert jumping in. He says, I think it will be Court, Tim, Judy, KJ, and Montrell. So he's kind of in the same boat as me. He's not putting Hinton in there.
Okay.
So got Mr. David Slade coming in. It says Seth Williams. I really like him.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that he's another one of those big body type of guys. And I heard another podcast I was listening to, and he brought up a fantastic point. If we do happen to go 2 tight end sets in this offensive system, and you end up having Alberto, and you have a Dulcich on the other side, and you have Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick out there, I don't think you have a guy under 6'4" between those 4 guys that you're having to try to cover. And that is fantastic. I just don't know if Seth Williams brings something additional to the table. Do you have anything to speak on Seth Williams at all?
I'm not super familiar with him, other than that, there is quite a few people that I have heard on a couple of different broadcasts. They were talking about him on 104.3 The Fan the other week. Like I said, not super familiar with who he is, but there are some people that are pretty excited about him. So, I wouldn't be able to really talk on him too much without being able to see him too much.
Very good. Albert's chiming back in. He has the opposite idea. He said it would be fun to see Monty and KJ lining up in the same play. Great opportunity for the running backs. Who are you going to defend? Great. I mean, look at all the options that we have the possibility of putting on the field. This is where it really gets tough. Like I said, trying to pick this 53 and then trying to figure out who makes the practice squad. And on top of that, if you can't find room on the practice squad or on the 53, do you take one of these guys and try to get, a late round draft pick out of these guys as well? So Albert thinks that Seth goes directly to the practice squad. So probably along the same lines you were thinking as well then. Where do you think Seth, if you had a guess? Again, Seth Williams, Tyree Cleveland, year 1, year 2 guys for the Denver Broncos. Before I have you answer that question, this is the one thing that I really got out of this too. I just want to go over a few stats from 2021. And I know I got Victor up here. Victor's always good for some good comments that we should have kept Teddy B as a wide receiver. He has the gloves already. Never lets go of the ball. Along those lines, a great transition. So I appreciate it, Victor. I know it takes what you're given in order to produce what you have, right? But these are just the stats from last year, and it was kind of amazing, at least from a yards perspective, right? Our top wide receiver came in was Sutton at 767, followed by Patrick at 734. Next guy on line was, and I needed to go back. I actually missed one guy. Now that I missed Hamler altogether, but I have Judy at 467 as my third guy coming in. So out of the wide receiver guys. So we see a pretty steep drop off, and we don't see the most impressive numbers. I know a lot of Broncos fans and even NFL pundits alike have been pretty happy with us, being able to sign Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick to long-term contracts. But I think they also put us in the position to get those good contracts just based upon some of the numbers we have last year. So that being said, I think there's also just a lot to prove from all of these receivers. I don't care who we look at. I don't know if any of these guys, I mean, even if we look at Sutton, still coming back off of last year, he put up 776. He was our leading receiver in yardage, but it wasn't otherworldly, correct? So.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's not, and it wasn't I think part of the problem is that we just didn't have a quarterback that could throw the ball and sling it around like that we're expecting this year. So with Sutton, I think I expect an increase in those numbers. I definitely see over 1,000 yards for him if we can get the ball moving this time around.
And I agree. I think all these guys have the ability to have phenomenal years, especially with the quarterback we've had in position that none of these guys have had, right? You can go through all of these guys, and none of these guys have had a fantastic quarterback throwing to them. So all of these guys have potential. It'll just be really interesting because I think you're right. Everyone has potential. I think there could be we could see some flip to the script, I guess you could say, in a lot of ways, just depending upon how well Russell Wilson, this offense, this scheme, and these individual receivers end up really fitting within. So it's I don't know if we're going to get any answers on any of this, but I can tell you there's going to be a lot of debate, and it's going to be fun to see exactly how this all plays out. Maybe we'll just hit a few more comments here real quick. We'll jump in with Matt Staffiero. He says if KJ stays put, they likely only carry 5 or 6 wide receivers on the active roster. Sutton, Patrick, Jerry, Judy, KJ, Washington, and I think Hinton makes the last spot on the active roster. So he's getting everybody in for us if that happens to be the case. Just to kind of as a rewind, last year in 2021, we kept 5 guys on the 53-man roster. We kept 4 guys on the practice squad. I also just looked up, since we have a brand new coach, Packers 2021 53-man starting roster. They had 6 wide receivers on there. So if that says anything, maybe we do have spots for all 6, like Matt's kind of alluding to here. Opens it up a little bit. If that's the case, I guess we got Cortland, Tim, Jerry. I'm going, KJ and Kendall and Montrell. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, I think
that's all 6. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think Tyree's going to be a practice squad guy.
Yeah, and that's where we kind of get into that next step with guys like Kendall Hinton and Tyree Cleveland. Those are the 2 guys that may or may not have any type of trade value, but also may be on that kind of cutting room floor, as obviously we try to bring in other guys and give new opportunities to guys like Travis Fulgham and Jalen Virgil and Trey Quinn as well. So guys that just really haven't got that much opportunity at all. So maybe we'll just hit a couple more comments, and then maybe we'll be able to move on unless you have more on the wide receivers. So Albert jumping in again. I think KJ definitely is getting a spot. He would have had a breakout last year if he didn't get that injury. Yeah, KJ, absolutely right. I can't disagree with that. I think
he got a tough break.
Yeah, it seemed like there was tough breaks up and down the Broncos roster. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When it came to KJ Hamler, again, a guy that could take the field and really show us what he's capable of this year. If all the talk through OTAs and off-season activities, all off-season activities come true, they've been talking very, very well about him. So we got a Facebook user in. Just a reminder, you can actually allow us to see your name if you jump in there at the very beginning at the top of the page. There's a click through. If you don't want to do that, hey, just drop your name in at the very front of your comment, and that way I know who I'm talking to. But what's up, boys? Don't trade Hamler. Hamler is our home run threat. He will get tons of number of one-on-one matchups. I didn't take that we're talking about there. Huge season for Hamler. Hamler is our version of Lockett for Russ. Ooh, dang.
That's a pretty bold statement right there.
Yeah, Lockett. Go ahead.
I was going to say Lockett. He ended up, that kind of comment, I guess, is pretty bold since KJ did not play last year. So we'll see. I mean, KJ does have that same level of speed that Lockett has, and the one-on-one matchups, we'll see how he comes back and being able to run routes and things like that. That's going to be. It was an ACL injury, so anytime they come back from the ACL injuries, it's going to be a lot of the cutting. That's going to be part of the issue. So he can keep his speed, but it's the cutting.
Yeah. And the thing is this is a guy who's actually, if you go back through his history, I know he was injured in college, and I believe he was also injured in high school as well with knee injuries. So it's not something that's unique to his history, this injury that's snuck up. We'll have to just see. So it's, like I said, jam-packed room. I think there's going to be some surprises, and I think people will be, again, people who maybe were hinting for a Tyree Cleveland or a Seth Williams or something like that, or even a Kendall Hinton from the last few years, if they end up getting moved on from, that could be concerning to them, I guess you could say. So I was just looking because we actually had Matt jump in along those lines saying could see Peyton trying to flip Seth Williams for a late pick. So, and our friend that was chiming in before is the great Kurt Valente. If you guys don't know Kurt, he's over on the K&K Sports Show. Fantastic show. I know they're in a little bit of a break right now. They'll be coming back in the fall, but great way to get your East Coast flavor of some sports, including some Broncos. They always dedicate Briggsy's Broncos, a portion of their show to Broncos. So check that out as well.
Awesome. So I have a question for you, Keith, in regards to Jerry Judy. So I kind of mentioned it earlier. Do you think it is a make it or break it season for Jerry? Seeing as all of the, this big hype of him and everything that we expected him to be doing, and he hasn't really lived up to what we expected when we drafted him.
It's because of where we drafted him, right? It carries so many expectations. I wish he would have maybe been guided a little bit better. I think he could have had some better interactions with media and people socially. So I just feel like he's putting so much pressure on himself to perform this year. The funny thing is, and I'll hit this. This is one of the last things I'll hit real quick when it comes to stats, is where Jerry Judy actually performed when he was able to hit the field. He was only on the field for 10 games, but his catching percentage was the tops among all wide receivers, 67.9% catch percentage. Outdid Hinton at 65.2, Sutton at 59.2, and Patrick at 62.4. His yards per target was second at 8.3, only behind Tim Patrick at 8.6. And of course, we know he didn't get any touchdowns, but yards per game that he played was also first at 46.7. Sutton and Patrick following up with 45.6 and 45.9 respectively. So the funny thing is, I think we actually see that, he has potential. And I think we were saying, hey, he drops a lot of passes. Well, that was probably the year before that. He's showing that he can catch the ball. He's getting more yards per target. He's getting more yards per game. He's missing obviously some time. So yeah, we want to see him come back from this injury. But if he comes back from this injury, I don't see, even with all the pressure and everything else that has been put on himself, he's in the perfect position to succeed. I don't see Now reading over these statistics, I would have never guessed that he would have been leading in so many categories.
Yeah, I think it's just that, us as Broncos fans and maybe just NFL fans in general, is that it's just, being drafted as high as he was drafted and things like that. You're expecting numbers like coming out the gate like a Cortland Sutton or Tim Patrick, but at like an elite level. I'm probably misspeaking there. Not necessarily saying Cortland Sutton or Tim Patrick. The elite wide receivers, Cooper Kupp or whatever the case is, and we're not seeing that. And the draft class that he came out of with, Henry Ruggs, obviously, who's no longer going to be in the NFL, and losing his name, the individual from the Cowboys. I think that's going to be. I think that's a tough ask for him to come out and put those types of numbers up right off of the rookie year with the type of quarterbacks he had. But now with the quarterback that he has no excuses. He absolutely needs to be making plays game in and game out and not dropping the ball in pivotal moments.
Joe, I think you're going to become like a fan favorite on the chat board because it seems like that's exactly what everyone's talking about here. Matt Staffiero saying it's absolutely 100%. Victor coming in, yes, because he's now with an elite quarterback. No excuses. I like this too. This chat is dangerous. Yes, and I'll tell you that's what it's going to have to be. That's the difference. We know that we have a quarterback in place that should be able to perform. It looks like we have the offensive mind and our head coach to put together an offense to take that field. If all those pieces are in place and all of a sudden you see a guy not performing on the field, I think it's going to become obvious because, as you alluded to, Joe, I don't think we're seeing 776 yards be our top wide receiver this year. And as we talked about last week in our poll, I think there's definitely a possibility to where we see a couple of 1,000-yard receivers for the first time in a while here in Broncos country.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I think we have to at this point. We're going to be going, with a more offensive mindset. And yeah, maybe we're hitting a 2 tight end set, but it doesn't mean that we're not being able to get those 1,000-yard receivers, 100-yard catchers, or 100 catches seasons, 100 catch seasons. So yeah, that's kind of a big issue for me. I think we need to see more of that, but also, the ground game is very important.
Yeah, obviously it's all going to come off that. They've been talking about that all off season, how this is a run first offense and everything plays off of that run, and how everything is going to really look the same from almost every single set that you come out there in. They don't want you to know whether it's a deep pass, whether it's an underneath pass, whether it's a sweep, whether it's anything, a screen pass, a running play. They want to be able to run out of the same set. So it will be really cool to be able to, for the first time in a while, I think, not be predictive in what we put on the field. It seems like that's been the case for a while now. Before we jump off this topic, any outright cuts, anybody that you absolutely see being traded?
I could outright cuts. Maybe Jalen Virgil or Trey Quinn. Great to have them on the field. Maybe they'd hit the practice squad, but I don't think so. I think we have too much competition in the wide receiver room for them to really be making the team this year. They're going to be definitely helpful when we have those 11-on-11 during training camp, but sure. I think that's about as far as we're going to see that.
Okay. Any trades that you see?
I could see KJ Hamler being a trade piece. And the only reason I say that is strictly because of his speed, and it wasn't this front office that drafted him. So I think that, loyalty kind of goes partly into some of these things. And so I could see KJ Hamler. They don't have a lot of money invested in him, but they could maybe get a, six round pick for him, 5th round pick, somewhere around there. Maybe that's a little high, but we could see something like that. KJ would be a trade piece, I would think.
Yeah, has obviously a lot of possibility. Danny Kitchen jumping in, thinking it could be Tyree Cleveland. I'm kind of along that same lines of whether Tyree Cleveland or a Seth Williams kind of gets moved on from this year as a trade piece. I think they have value just with the amount of game starts games they've actually appeared in for the Broncos. Got a little bit of tape out there and might be worth a flyer for someone looking to shore up a wide receiver room. Maybe the Packers, if they can't get Julio to come on board, if that doesn't pan out like they need. That's certainly they're a team that's short a few guys. So, boy, I think we've fledged that one out, buddy. I think that's like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what happens with all of this. Who emerges? Who has trade value? Who's going to be cut? Who hits practice squad? We have a packed room and a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people that can prove themselves this year. So be looking forward to it. So, Joe, I just want to take a second. I want to tell you and our listeners about one company that's definitely making the roster, and that's Willow Seasonings and Blends. All right.
Okay.
From Sweet Heat all-purpose rub, the 2022 American Royal Best Rub on the Planet in the hot category. Take that and rub it on your meat. I don't know if that's the right thing to say. Don't take that the wrong way, everybody. All the way to their Sweet Thang, sweet and tangy barbecue sauce. Whether it's a good rub or a great sauce, Willow Seasonings and Blends has your barbecue covered this summer. And right now, any new customers get an additional 15% off their already great prices. All you have to do is jump in and type NEW15 in the coupon code box. That's NEW15, NEW15, and you get an additional 15% off, Joe. If you don't mind, in the comments section, just put in Denver Bronco Roundup. It's kind of our way of knowing that we're getting your mouth watering by telling you all about Willow Seasonings and Blends. So, Joe, coming off of 4th of July season, I'm not sure if there could be a better way to support a veteran-owned business than heading over to their website, willowseasonings.com, and spicing up your life today, man.
Awesome.
All right. Let's get a little spicy now, and we'll head into the backfield, hit some running backs, and this one might be a little bit easier. I think this might be where we catch up on a little bit of time here, buddy. So, pretty small room. Let me get all those guys pulled up here for us real quick. Get the wide receivers down for anybody that's following along video wise. I'm just trying to get everything up on the screen. Anybody that's on the radio, they don't know what's happening. So our running backs here, pretty much all guys that are returning, right? We really don't have a whole lot of new faces. We have Tyrek Mcallister was brought in. He was an undrafted free agent brought in from the college level. The other four guys have hit the field. So once again, maybe I'll just go ahead and I'll read off last year that we kept four guys on the 53 and we kept one guy on the practice squad. A little bit different for the Green Bay Packers if we're trying to follow Nathaniel Hackett's mind, if that happens to be the case. Only kept 3 running backs. So we're looking at 3 to 4 guys. What's your 3 for sure, buddy? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I know where this is going. I think everybody does.
This is a really tough one for me to answer, Keith. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, and Mike Boone. I think Mike Boone makes the roster.
Yeah. Honestly, he had some fantastic. He put together some fantastic tape when he got out on the field. I'll put it that way. He didn't have that many opportunities really when it comes down to it, especially if we're talking about actually getting the ball in his hands. So, I would have to agree. And, whether, believe it or not, the thing that I was really surprised though was that Demerit Crockett hit the field 12 times for us last year. He appeared in 12 games last year. So that was astounding to me. Not that he got a whole lot of touches. Like I said, he had 3 attempts for 7 yards. So I think we were using him more of a fullback or just a relief or a spell for Williams or Gordon, especially if we had one of those guys out, as Gordon has actually obviously out one game as well. But I guess, it does bring up that fourth spot if we happen to carry that fourth guy, whether, you're moving on from a guy like Demerit Crockett, looking at trading a Mike Boone, looking to just cut Tyrek McAllister outright. There is a little bit of flex in the bottom of that round. So.
Yeah, I think that, Tyrek McAllister is coming out of the Division II school. It doesn't mean that he can't make the team. It's just that he hasn't seen that same level of competition that a Division I guy kind of has. Obviously, we drafted him not drafted him, but brought him into the room for a reason. And it sounds like he's coming out of, I think, like West Virginia or something like that, near Charleston. He was the Big East Mountain or Little Mountain, something East Mountain Player of the Year. And so I think that it looks like he has some potential. I don't see too many games from that division or anything like that, so I'm not 100% sure exactly what he looks like on tape yet. But Demerit Crockett was always good for us last year. That he brought in the ability to bring in some blocks. And that was the thing that was kind of important to us, was that we needed the ability to block because we needed to give the quarterback more time. Now that we have a quarterback that has a little bit better of a release than Teddy Bridgewater, getting that ball stuck in his glove, I think that, we don't need to necessarily worry about the blocks as much, because I know that was another issue with Javonte Williams last year, is that he's not the best blocker. Melvin Gordon definitely takes on a lot of the blocks.
Yeah, I agreed. It seems like every college running back that comes into the league is always adjusting to that blocking scheme. They all know how to run fairly well, but blocking comes with time. And Gordon was the guy who gave us the blocking back within our offense last year. We have a lot of people kind of chiming in on who's going to be RB1, who's going to be RB2. And who's going to what's that split going to look like? And maybe that's a better topic than you're really going all the way through this running back room and deciding on who's going to be that fourth spot. Do you have any ideas or thoughts on what that would look like come day one?
So somebody in the comments mentioned here a 60-40 split. Danny Kitchen, I completely agree there. 60-40 split in favor of Williams. I think Williams he's the younger guy. He has a little bit more juice left in those legs. But Melvin Gordon definitely can come in and still make a huge impact on the game. And like I said, the blocking is where Melvin was making his bread and butter last year.
Agreed. I obviously he was our blocking guy. I'm going to be the stat guy again, real quick, because I had one guy tell me one time. He said, stats don't tell the story. You can't just base everything on stats. I agree. It's just something you got to bring into context. Williams and Gordon both had 203 attempts each last year. And I think I remember that being tied come the end of the very, very end of the season, right? 203. Gordon ran for more yards, 918 over 903. And people will say, yeah, he had some really big runs. He had a 4.5 yard per average versus 4.4 that Javonte Adams had, and his yards per game was 57.4 versus 53.1. Again, it just seems like it's one of those things where we have a really big perception in our mind about who is the obvious guy or who is not performing. Again, I'll go back to Jerry Judy and the stats that he put up that I read off earlier, and now we have Melvin Gordon coming in, and I know that we split that backfield and it was meant to be split, but he took advantage of those splits and it was honestly did quite well. I guess it's more surprising to me that a lot of people were ready for him to be gone. Didn't think that he brought that much value and was ready for Williams to be the exclusive RB1.
Well, I think you come back and going into the statistics, it's how many fumbles did Melvin have and how many fumbles did Melvin have in big games. I think that's a big part of the issue is that he fumbled in big moments and pivotal moments where Javonte Williams, I think, only had like one fumble last year or something like that. I think that's the biggest thing right there.
It does play into that optics, right? He didn't have a terrible season as far as fumbles were, but his fumbles when they came and what we saw when they came, it was like the worst timing possible, right?
Yep.
We'll get into the tight end room in a second, but very similar to an Albert O, right? It seemed like when he did have a miss, when he didn't haul in the pass, it always seemed it was in the worst spot. So it looked worse than maybe the statistics played out. But I agree. Hey, I was Broncos country. Denver Bronco Roundup fans. I was screaming out the TV just like each and every single one of you were when Melvin Gordon put the ball on the turf. So believe me, I'm with you. I'm not just a full-time advocate for Melvin Gordon. I know he has his hiccups. I just think he has a little bit more value in this running back scheme. And to me, I don't know if we'll get a 60-40. I kind of like the 50-50. I'll be honest.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's going to hurt one bit to do that. I think what we'll see is just more of what we saw from Melvin Gordon in Javonte Williams' game this year, where he has an opportunity to get bigger and bigger runs, more breakout plays. Things that we saw from Melvin Gordon from time to time that really end up propelling his statistics maybe a little bit better than what they were when we saw it on a game-by-game basis, right? Victor's going to chime in. He says, if we knew how to execute the Fumblerooski play correctly, Gordon could be up for MVP. Well, I appreciate that, Victor. Victor, if anybody has not had Victor comment on a podcast or seen Victor, he's not going to leave his opinions to himself, and we appreciate that. Thanks for chiming in, Victor. Thanks for chiming in, everybody. Danny, Albert, and the like. So, Javonte, Melvin Gordon, those are our 1 and 2. I think I'm going to agree with you, and Mike Boone makes that third spot. Just what he shows and what he's capable of and the way he could fit into this offense. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe that's where we leave it. I don't know if Demerit Crockett makes it. He was a blocking back for us, like you said, mainly last year. And we brought in some tight end guys that may just sneak him out of that spot. Maybe Tyrek Mcallister hits that practice squad. And that's the kind of the way I would round it out for the running back room. I'm going to just jump in here. He said, don't forget, we are getting a couple different offensive schemes as well. That should work in both running backs' favors. Thanks, Albert. You're right. It is actually a mix of schemes. I keep saying like Nathaniel Hackett's idea, but it's not just Nathaniel Hackett's. It's Russell Wilson's as well.
Yeah, they're blending their two schemes together, so that should be interesting.
Yeah. Any ideas of what that might look like? What do you? I mean, it's all just rotating in my head at this point. I got wide zone running schemes, and I got Russell Wilson and rolling out and extending plays, and it's
I think it's going to be a lot of play action. I think that's where we're going to make some money at, is the play action, just because we keep them guessing that way.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to kind of, as I alluded to before, what we put out on the field. I think we're going to try to keep the same guys out there on a fairly consistent basis. So whether that's, 3 wide receivers, 2 tight end set, there's just so many options out there to what we could put on the field. And now I'm going to start getting myself all excited before training camp even begins. So, all right. We got to jump into tight ends. That's the next thing on the docket, buddy. So jumping right over into tight ends. Bring this guy down. Again, visually, we'll just pull this. Oops, we don't need that. All right. Tight ends is end up being a pretty packed room with some off-season moves that we end up going through. So I guess just for anybody who's listening only, we'll go through the list. Obviously, we have Albert O that tops the list. We have Greg Dulcich that just came in. We also have Andrew Beck, Eric Salbert, Eric Tomlinson, Rodney Williams, and new rookie Dylan Parham. Like I said, packed room for the tight ends. Last year we kept 4 guys on the active roster with another guy on the practice squad. If again, taking reference to the Green Bay Packers, they also had 4 guys on the 53. So keeps it really easy. We need to pick 4 here, and then we can shuffle a few off to the practice squad and the cuts. So what are you thinking, buddy?
I definitely
this is
obviously.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say Albert O and Greg Dulcich are 2 individuals obviously going to be making the team. Andrew Beck, he kind of played fullback a little bit for us last year. You know, he filled into a couple fullback role positions. So, you know, I can see Andrew Beck still making the team. But I really liked Eric Salbert as well. I mean, he only had 8 receptions last year, but every time he was kind of rumbling with the ball, he was averaging about 6 yards for the 8 receptions that he had. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good for only 8 receptions, 6 yards. And then he also had a pretty good amount of blocks. Guy's a big guy. He's not small, sitting at 6'5". So I do like Salbert a lot.
Yeah, it's just really wild. Obviously, we had Alberto. We no longer have Noah Fount. As Victor says, we have Greg Stashish and and Andrew Beck that we've carried over as well. But when you look at Eric Salbert, when you look at Eric Tomlinson that were brought in, Rodney Williams, a young guy that was carried over, and undrafted free agents out of college in Dylan Parham, though a lot of people like what he puts on the field, might be a long shot. We just, again, brought in an absolutely full room, played some contracts out to some guys to make sure they would be here for us. And I don't know if we're going to get them all. Danny Kitchen thinks we just carry 5. And that would be easy. Then that would make it easy on me quite quickly. I don't know where that Andrew Beck, Eric Salbert, Eric Tomlinson ends up playing out, because those guys, I think, all kind of occupy that same space. Danny jumping in again and saying Tomlinson is a glorified tackle. And again, that's kind of where I'm talking about that blocking, and where Demerit Crockett could be on the way out, as we've brought in our blockers in our tight end room that can also play some fullback, like an Andrew Beck or an Eric Salbert as well. So,
yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that you were just moving where the blocker is at, coming out of the backfield or pushing them up onto the actual line themselves. And with the tight ends, that's why I can see us definitely keeping Andrew Beck, just because he can go back and forth between behind the line or up on the line. And that was a big thing that Andrew Beck did for us last year. So we had quite a bit of, the ability to block and have him moving around as a rotational player there.
Yeah, and Albert's going to jump in and pretty much agree with you. He says, for me, it's Alberto, Mr. Hare, Sauerbert, and Beck more as a fullback. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see these tight ends / fullbacks. I don't think we're going to keep our running back room full of anybody who's really going to be required to be a blocker, except obviously in the passing situations when we're in a one running back set, I guess you could say. So, but as far as actually just bringing down the hammer and running downhill, it'll be all up to what these guys that we see right here. And I don't think it'll be the 2 guys on the top 2 guys on the list, with Alberto and Greg Dulcich being out on the edges. So
that was one of the good things about Albert O, though, is that he did have an ability to block, for us. And that's kind of why he was brought in the first time around. It wasn't so much for his passing ability, because we had Noah Fant for that, because Noah Fant was terrible with the blocking. So Albert O, he still does have that ability to block, but, he is a deep threat because he has some legs underneath him. So,
yeah. I'll tell you what, and I guess we shouldn't even brush over this topic, but Noah Fant, big hole to fill. Here's a guy that brought in quite a few yards for us last year. If you're going to put him as in the whole wide receiver room, he comes in 3rd overall with 670 yards, comes in 2nd overall in touchdowns with 4, only second to Patrick that had 5. So there is a lot of opportunity. Obviously, we drafted fairly high I think to try to solve that problem. But that doesn't necessarily mean that situation's all pre-planned out. They've been talking at OTAs and training camps. It's all about the best guy. The best guys will take the field.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with that.
Victor thinks that Albert O is going to be on the block. Physical tight end and just destroy people. And the stash, like the mustache flash, will be added. It will be the added air threat. Wow. I haven't heard anything about Albert O hitting the block. I've seen some pretty good people talking about Albert O in a pretty positive way, but that's also how you get your trade value where you want it to be too. You don't go out there and talk about how a guy's struggling with the scheme and seems like he's out of shape either, if you want to try to get any trade value down the road. So it'll be interesting to see Albert O on the block. Victor, chime back in if you think that's true, because I know that you can have a little sarcasm from time to time as well. Albert jumping in and thinking Dulcich is an upgrade on Fant. He keeps getting yards after the catch, unlike Fant. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think he's an automatic upgrade year one coming out of the blocks over Fant if he would have been in the scheme?
I mean, he's coming out of a school, UCLA. I mean, it's not like it's a big powerhouse SEC team that, where we have seen some amazing tight ends come out of. So I'm not sold that it's an automatic upgrade for Dulcich to come in and outperform Fant, but I wouldn't say that it's not possible. I will definitely say it's in the realm of possibilities, but that I would say it's a little bit of a bold statement.
It is for a year one. I mean, the guy's definitely been impressing on the field. I would say, hey, there is one benefit, and that's everything that's changed in this scheme, right? Everything from the offense to what our expectations are to the quarterback, what we're putting on the field. So I don't know if I misspoke. This guy saying, you mean Joe. I don't know if I called you the wrong name, Joe. If I did, we've had a regular co-host as of lately named Jody. It's really close. Might have called you that. So sorry for the slip up if I just called you Jody instead. So
it's all good.
All right. Well, boy, bud, we actually we didn't do too bad through our three position groups. I don't know if we solved any problems. I can tell you this. It seems like there is a lot of competition heading into training camp. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Let's see. That was a serious note from Victor. Thanks for chiming back in, Victor. He's a big physical tight end who could look like a prime Gronk. Greg Olsen. Man, I love it, man. It's what I want to see. It's what I want to hear. I value your opinion, Victor. Like I said, I think the door is wide open. Noah Fant left a big hole, obviously. Albert O, if he hits the block and Fant rolls in, Dulcich rolls in and ends up being that tight end one, I tell you what, it's a lot of pressure, but at the same time, it's a heck of a lot of opportunity too, because I don't know if there's anybody else on this roster who really looks like that receiving tight end that could fill that spot at that time.
Yeah, no, I think that we have a lot of unknowns there in the tight end room.
All right, bud. Well, guess what? It's poll time, and I'll tell you what, we had a huge response to our poll. I put this out. We had over 600 people chime in. Even got a little a like on Instagram from one of the guys in the voting. So that was pretty cool. So with that being said, let's I just want to hit this.
Get something to say,
Okay.
say it.
I got something to say.
You got something you want to say to me?
I'm sorry. Did you say something?
What did you say?
All right. So pull this out and get our poll results up here real quick, bud. So this was our poll. We had you need to hit a 45-yard field goal to win the game. We got 3 Bronco kickers up here for anybody that's just listening in. A, Elam, B, Prater, and C, McManus were the three. Just before we get in, let's start in with some write-in suggestions. I just want to say that we've been pretty blessed as Broncos fans. We've had quite a few amazing Broncos kickers. So I just want to point out that we had multiple votes. Last count, I had Rich Carlos with 14 votes. Again, not even offered in there, just kind of write-in votes. We had the great David Treadwell. Last time I checked, he had 5 votes. And Jim Turner, which I'll be honest, I need to jump back in and maybe look up some Jim Turner kicking footage. Seems like it's a far ways back from everyone's comments. But all 3 of those guys got fantastic, write-in results. Again, not even an option on our poll. So any of those 3 guys you remember watching hit the field there?
Well, I remember watching all 3 of them, but Elam is the one that sticks out the most to me. First time that I had, like, as a young child, seeing somebody wear the number 1, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So
there you go. I guess I was thinking Rich Carlos, David Treadwell, or Jim Turner, but I think you may have answered my question in there. Elam was probably one of your first. What was your first guy? I remember, if I heard right, kicking the ball.
Yeah, definitely.
I got to tell you, those Rich Carlos barefoot days at Mile High Stadium, snow on the ground. I absolutely loved watching some Rich Carlos back in the day. So again, no disrespect, those guys were freaking fantastic. I was just trying to make this a little bit easier for all our viewers. Try to get 3 easy options. Figure these would be some, like as you picked, as you said, some more recent guys that have hit the field for Broncos country and did well for us, I guess is the best way to put it. So Victor's already chiming in, so I got to get up here. Trick question: Prater audibles and throws a TD. I love it, man. I love it. Always a possibility. I just want to bring this up. The reason I picked these 3 guys, and maybe this is just a little bit of a justification, because the poll results were a little bit more lopsided. And guys, anybody that's in comments, feel free to guess who came in number 1 or put your vote in. But they were more lopsided than I expected. So without any further ado, actually, I'll just give you a few ideas of what we had. We had Eddie Vigil that came in and said, and I think that might be Virgil, but I might be wrong. Elam all the way. We had Danny Kitchen, who has already been on commenting tonight. Thanks again, Danny. Says, as much as I love Prater, I think it's got to be Elam. Mike Ryan Herschel kicked off quite a discussion. I'll just put it that way. Was saying Prater, no question. Any other answer is wrong. That's in all caps. So I'm sure he was yelling, and he probably got the response because of that. Christopher Dixon chiming in, McManus easily. And we even had a few shares. The Brooklyn Broncos beat picked up our poll, put it out to all of their viewers and watchers, and just said tough decision as their head title, which I thought it was. You want to share who you think it should be?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about it before the show, and I'm still going to go with Elam. And I think that's just strictly off of all the game winners that we did see him hit. And he was with us for such a long time. So I think that Elam would be my choice.
Yeah. Not a bad choice. I'll be honest. We'll get to the results here shortly. Albert's jumping in. He thinks it's got to be Prater. I don't know if Victor, again, with the trick question that Prater is going to be his kicker just to throw the touchdown, but maybe he's going Prater as well. I'm going to just go to the next slide here real quick for anybody that's, again, listening on. This is 40 to 49-yard field goals and just some stats behind that. I guess I'm a stats guy all night tonight, but this is what we got on the screen. We got Jason Elam coming in. He was 111 for 168, coming in with a flat 66% on field goals from 40 to 49. We have Matt Prater coming in 81 for 117, besting Elam's percentage at 69.2. And then Brandon, oh boy, that was a mouthful all of a sudden. Brandon McManus, 51 of 61, small sample size, but 83.6% in 40 to 49 yard field goals. Doesn't change your mind at all? You're still jogging Elam out there for that 45 yarder, bud?
I mean, if we're looking strictly off percentages, it's hard to argue percentages. 83% is a lot better than 66. So,
yeah,
maybe we'll see McMoney out there instead of Elam or Prater.
But you're right. It seems, and I know we spoke a little bit before. It seemed like when it came to big game kicks, Elam always was out there hitting the great ones. And sometimes McManus, when it really seemed to matter, that's when he and Prater alike. It seemed like that was when, it was just too much leg, hooked it a little bit,
Yep.
Elam just seemed like, his misses, even though they may be more than what we see from some of the other guys percentage wise, when it mattered, that's when he put them through. So, Albert, I don't have this stat. One of the reasons I didn't go over 50 yards is because I thought it'd start favoring one guy over another, or start getting into a different race than what we put up here. It might be a better one to go over 50 yards and see if these results come back anywhere the same. And Victor coming in saying, "No, I'd take that TD throw from Prater." Okay, very good, Victor. We need 3 to win the game, buddy. We just need 3. There's not enough time for a touchdown pass. All right. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and I'll start getting to some results. So, poll results coming in. Number 3, our current Denver Bronco. Third place, 10.9% of the overall votes. Sorry. Just stumbling, man. Victor coming in saying McMoney gets frustrated because it's not for the record and misses.
He's not wrong.
I'm right on McMoney's side, man. The amount of times that guy had opportunities at the end of halves with time expiring when things didn't matter to maybe try a long field goal, and he was not given that opportunity. Was probably more than he should have. That's probably why he has as good of a percentage as he does in the field goals that he does. He just hasn't had that many opportunities to miss either. So,
yeah.
All right, man. Do you think any surprises here? I'll tell you, there's not very many surprises, man. Everyone is on board with you. So the only surprise is how close third and second was. So Matt Prater, former Denver Bronco, went on Detroit, Arizona last time I checked.
He's still with Arizona, I think.
And he's still with Arizona? Okay. So 11.6%. So really close race between Brandon McManus and Matt Prater for maybe that second spot. But as you can tell, it doesn't need to be any really drum roll because we only have one spot left, and you can see it's a little lopsided. Jason Elam coming in at 68.4%, man. So landslide. Like I said, maybe I had to put that slide up on statistics to justify because I didn't see this coming. How would you have seen this coming? Put yourself in my shoes, Joe.
I don't know. I think it definitely was a tough one. You would think that maybe because of Prater actually having the record now and things. Well, having had the record because I don't remember who beat him out, but somebody beat him out now. I think maybe I thought Prater maybe would have gotten a few more votes than just Jason Elam.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if his exit from Broncos country had anything to do with it. I know he didn't leave underneath the best of circumstances, and he's had I think I had one PED issue as well. So, I don't know if that comes into the thinking among the Denver Bronco Roundup fandom and the Broncos country in general, if that knocked him down a peg or two. I just looked at these guys, and to be honest, I thought there would be a little bit closer between the Prater Elam myself. I know it seems like for me, McManus lately has frustrated me when we need 3 points. And it seems like, let's face it, in his tenure with the Broncos, it seems like we always need 3 points. 3 points could be the make or break between us winning a game, but for sure. So
just need points in general.
yeah, it might be the only points we score. He might be the only guy scoring points that day, so there was definitely times that I had some level of frustration. I will agree, and I don't know if it has just to do with youth, much like you, but Jason Elam was my guy back then. It just seemed like that guy never did any wrong. He never wronged me in any big game, and it always came through. The statistics don't say that, but
yeah.
I had to look at some big game statistics. So
I think enough time has just passed for him to for us to forget about all the heartbreakers.
Yeah, maybe we've just blended it out of our memory. It's just all our current woes have taken up that frontal lobe of displeasure with our Broncos. So, well, boy, buddy, that's about it. That's a heck of a show that we put together there. So, I hope we answered some questions. I don't know I know you helped me maybe a little bit, opened up my eyes a little bit. Hopefully, that opened up some eyes for Broncos country as well.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate you having me on this week, Keith.
Well, always, man. I always appreciate you. I think I need to give you a little bit more mic time. I feel like I just kept talking tonight. So hopefully I gave you the fair share, and I'll have to go back and take a look at the tape later. So one thing I've been doing just at the end of each of our shows, though, is I've been doing a little Broncos trivia. So it's open to anybody out there that wants to guess before we get off the air. That being said, I will be posting up the answer. You can find it on Denver Bronco Roundup Facebook page and Rocky Mountain Sports Network Facebook page tomorrow. But here's the question, man. We'll keep it on the offensive side of the ball. Before 2020-21, or 2020-21, oh my gosh. Before 2021, who was the last Denver Bronco running back to score 10 touchdowns in the regular season?
C.J. Anderson.
That's a good guess. I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to wait with like a lot of people to maybe get your answer. But good guess. And I'll wait for anybody else out there that might want to chime in. Again, 2021, since 2021, going back 10 years, did I say that right? I would say that again. Before 2021, that's what it was. Who was the last Denver Bronco running back to score 10 touchdowns in the regular season? So I think it's a good one. I think it's one that people won't just jump off and say right off the top of their head. C.J. Anderson is definitely a good guess. We'll have to see if that's the winning guess, Joe. I'm pulling for you. I'll be honest. I'm pulling for you.
We'll see.
Let's see.
Not Ball.
Not Ball.
Yeah, I don't think Monty Ball is in that category.
No, didn't quite make it that year. I don't think so. Well, very good, man. Again, I appreciate everyone that jumped in, listening to us. I appreciate you, Joe, for jumping on and joining me. I really appreciate it. But until next time, the Denver Bronco is on again every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. We're on tons of social media, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think even Rocky Mountain Sports Network does some stuff on TikTok. I got stuff going on YouTube. Joe, are you got a presence out there at all that you want anybody to connect up with you on?
So me and Victor, hopefully eventually we'll get the 5280 zone started back up, here with the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Just don't have a lot of time right now trying to figure out some different things, got some different things going on. But hopefully maybe this fall we'll get it started back up and going so that we can talk, all Denver sports and add to the Rocky Mountain Sports Network and definitely, enjoy our time on air and get to interact with individuals.
Yeah, definitely. And I know Joe's always jumping in on Rocky Mountain Sports Network as it is. If he's not posting something up there, it seems like he's always commenting. You can always find him in there from time to time and maybe rattle his ear on some subjects there as well, if you wish. So, again, I appreciate everybody. Looks like we're about ready to round up the show. Until next Tuesday, sometimes we get out of here with a Mile High salute. Did you catch our trivia the other day or a few weeks ago on the Mile High salute, bud?
I didn't.
I'll give you the answer on this one for sure. The Mile High salute wasn't the first name of the Mile High salute. Terrell Davis and company actually had a complete different name that they tried to push, but once Mile High salute got into the realm of the public, it was no turning back, right? And thank goodness, because if not, we'd be signing off as No Limit Soldiers.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I don't know if we would have had No Limit Soldiers have the longevity, Buzz. So we'll do maybe a little Mile High salute. Call it good, bud?
Yeah.
Until
Call
next
it good.
time. All right. Thanks, man.
All right. Bye.